All right, all right, all right. Welcome back, everyone, to the Soft Talk Hard Truths podcast. I am Shay.
And I am Jay. Welcome back, good people.
Yes, yes, yes. So it is a Sunday, and so we got to do our due diligence because today is Jay's birthday. So let's give Jay the birthday shout out because it's always due. So happy birthday, King.
I appreciate that. I actually was not expecting that, so I appreciate that.
Yes, yes, yes. So, we have to do that. But listen, the day that we came into existence is an important one. So it needs to be acknowledged.
I
So,
appreciate it.
so yeah, so, and what did you, now you told me, did you say you were doing comics for your birthday?
So I always kind of had like a low key. I have to keep my birthdays low key. I used to have a tradition where once a year, save me a couple of dollars, and I would go buy me a bunch of basketball cards. Like that would be my gift to myself. So I buy like 1,000 cards. Um, I buy in bulk, so it's not that not that expensive. But over the years, as more people have gotten back into collecting, there's less joy, I guess, in collecting for me because now everyone's trying to basically flip cards. I'm in it for the love of the game, always have been. I don't really care too tough about the values, but now that's kind of where everything is going. It's not. It has been fun for the last couple of years. I just got me some comic books and just started getting back into those. And um, particularly last year and then this year, I just got me about 12 comics from the library. My library has a very nice collection. Yeah, and I just got down with those. So it's good catching up on a lot of comic stories that I've missed over the years.
Nice, nice. So these are all classics, right? When you go to get them, they're like, in mint condition classics, right?
I don't know if they're in mint condition. Like they've been donated. Um, just it's pretty interesting because like the library system where I live, like there's like you know maybe 30 or so I guess branches, like, kind of in different towns, but they're all part of a network. And it's like the Minuteman network. So it's like if you live in the city, and then I have the book that branch doesn't have the book that you want, some other town might have it, and so you can still reserve it online, and they'll actually send it to your branch. Like you ain't got to get in the car and drive to
Oh
the
yeah,
other
yeah.
branch if you don't want to. That's dope. So I go online, and I put in like Batman or Superman, and it'll have like all the books that are available in those titles, and I just start reserving. Apparently, there's like a 50 book limit, which I didn't even think you could take out 50 books at one time, but apparently you can. So yeah, but and they come from different branches, and so when they're ready, I go to my library, and there's like I have a whole shelf with my name on it because I get that many
Mm-hmm.
books, and then I just take them out and get and read. It's pretty dope. I'm able to catch up on some of the classics, some of them more recent, but I just been at the game for so long. To me, everything is just kind of a classic in my opinion. But um, it's also given me a chance to like look at comics that I never would have checked out. Like I'm trying to get into Invincible, and then there's The Walking Dead. There's a whole bunch of comic books there. So
Comic, huh?
yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
fu- it's funny how many of like these popular shows are actually comic books or came from comic books.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea. What's your fave?
Good. That's a good question. I don't really know. I I guess it's tied between Batman and probably Wolverine comics. Even though Batman Um, you know, it's questionable whether he's actually a hero. I think maturing is realizing that Batman really ain't the hero that most people think he is, because it's like, hey, rich billionaire beating up low level criminals as opposed to, I don't know, ending hunger in Gotham City.
That is what he is. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah. Hmm.
I mean, you know, buy,
Yeah.
buying homes for the homeless. Nope, I'm a beat these thugs.
Hmm.
I can appreciate a no kill rule. But the Joker don't really need to be here. I think you need to put him down at some point because every life he takes after you don't kill him is kind of on you. Uh,
Oh. Okay.
you know,
Okay.
it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's just a different. Again, that's a different way to look at it because it's like
It is.
you had a chance to put him down. You know he's not going to stop. He escapes Arkham like every other day and kills people. And you have multiple opportunities to put him down, but for some reason you just don't. At some point, what happens? Like it may not be all your fault, but you are kind of to blame.
For not,
So
yeah, for
like,
not stopping it when you had the chance to.
yeah. So there's just a question as to whether is he really that effective? I don't know. And then again, it's just the age old thought that power invites challenge. Or is Batman responding to these criminals, or is these criminals responding to Batman?
Mm.
I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's
So,
a
but I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
that's an interesting take, I said.
I mean, it's yeah. Again, it's looking at it from the eyes of an adult versus 10-year-old kid is a little bit different. I mean, you could probably say the same thing for Superman. Someone with all that power could just end like all crime. Um, Part of being a dictatorship, but
Mm-hmm.
they actually explored kind of what would happen if Batman had Superman's powers. Um, I won't tell the whole story, but I'll just say it did not turn out well. Um, there's one of my favorite content creators on TikTok. I think his name is King Lion. His thing is just, he's like the genius, just the genius, just the expert when it comes to comics. Like that's his thing. Like he's in the way he's able to kind of recap a story is hilarious. But he don't like Batman. He does not like
Oh,
Batman. Calls
okay.
bitch Wayne.
Oh, okay. Okay. So he's definitely not a fan.
He's not a fan for many of the same reasons that I just stated.
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
like bitch. He's like nah, fuck bitch Wayne. That's his. Like he calls, and then like there's obviously there's people who come to Batman's defense. He calls them bisexuals.
That's
Um,
me.
yeah,
Sexual.
Batsexuals. Like
That's a interesting. Interesting.
yeah,
I like the term though.
it's hilarious. But it's like the thing I love about him is that he always has receipts. Like
Mm.
so everything he's saying, you can go to the comic book that he's talking about and find it. Like he'll tell you, hey, I found it on page XYZ in the
Okay.
comic. Because people challenge him, but it's clear that they don't read the book. They just coming off of like feelings and emotions. Like, no, this is what he said. So
Mm-hmm.
it's that's why I rock with him. But he's hilarious. But yeah, he is not a Batman fan. But I mean, obviously he reads the book because he knows enough about him. Um, but yeah, so that's what I did for for my birthday.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Listen, as long as you did whatever it is that you wanted to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what it's all about. You're not working, I mean, I've worked on some of my birthdays before, so I feel like, if you're not working and you're not doing things that you don't really want to do, you're just doing whatever it is, even if that's absolutely nothing, um, you know, then it's all good because that's what you're supposed to do on your birthday. So that's good. That's good. So today is going to be an interesting topic. Yeah, because we're going to talk about the difference between chemistry and compatibility.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually been waiting for this topic because I think I might have some stuff to say, but yes.
Yeah, yeah. I thought this was a good one. So, I always tell you I'm big on taking notes. So I'm always looking at my notes and stuff. And it's funny, when I was taking notes on this, I almost felt like I was in school. Some of the stuff that I was like putting, because I was looking at it I was trying to look at it from different perspectives, because it's easy. I think these two are easy to misconstrue, right? And to mistake one for the other. And people, some people might be, well, no, say, oh, well, no, you can't, there's really no difference. But I feel like you can be in a relationship where, like, you have a strong connection, there's an attraction, conversation is great, and you feel like there's kind of like something there, right? Something real is happening, but maybe the actual relationship isn't working, right? Because, see, so, and then someone would say, well, how could that be, right? So that's maybe where there might be some confusion, but I feel like having chemistry with someone can make something feel right, even if the foundation of it isn't sustainable or even healthy.
Yeah, that's a damn good point. And you're right. I think like you can definitely align on certain things or even several things, but I think what the compatibility comes into play is like those the important stuff, I guess, the things that when the attraction, I guess, maybe not fades, but kind of lessens to a degree when you're out of that puppy love stage, out of that just kicking the stage, and when things get real, that's where the compatibility comes into play, and that's where a lot of relationships kind of fall because like, oh, these are important things, we just don't see eye to eye, and we're not going to see eye to eye. Like I think that's key there. Because some things you can kind of compromise on, but there are some things you just can't. Sometimes whether it can be religion, if someone's religious, someone isn't. Um, Someone's of a different religion. Uh, you know, Financial. Someone has a certain salary, someone doesn't, and all the things that can kind of bring into play. Like those important things,
Mm-hmm.
they're important. Like it's great that y'all can talk for hours into the wee hours of the night. It's great that y'all both like buffalo wings. It's great that y'all both you know uh, are compatible when it comes to being intimate. But that to me that's like surface level. Um, when you start getting into like the actual depth of a person, that's kind of where things may go left in the stuff. Something that I had to learn and I'm still learning. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's like, because I feel like compatibility is more about like how well you actually function, you know, like the real cohesiveness, like about really what happens when you run into those challenges, right? So, because it's easy to sit and communicate and talk to someone when you're laughing and joking and things are well, and you're in that puppy love stage. But when there's issues or problems, even like how you were saying earlier, maybe if it's religion, if it's financial, so how do you communicate then? What is your communication like then, right? What are your values? Do you share the same values? Um, that's really big because you can love someone, but maybe they just don't share certain values that you hold. And it doesn't matter how much chemistry is there, and how, how great it is when you can talk, or, you go out to eat, or whatever other things you do. But if you don't share the values, then are you really compatible?
Yeah, and this, like I said, it's a hard truth to face, But that's what we do here on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally in our name. Um, but yeah, you know, when things get tough, like what are you going to do? Um, how how do you handle conflict? That's key. Um, are you do you just like to approach things head on? Do you need time to kind of go collect your thoughts? You know, are you good at talking in the moment, or not? Do you hit below the belt? Stuff like that. Just but and you don't. You can try to have these conversations beforehand, which is helpful, but you really don't know until you're in those situations. Um, and then sometimes I think where we tend to get in trouble also is that you know we see red flags early, but we think hey, but we have good chemistry. It'll sort itself out, and it never does.
It just
They just
stays there.
yeah, and now you have until you finally get tired of it, of this thing that you've been aware of for however long you've been aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I used to wonder like why we do this. Do we just like I guess we just don't like to lose, like, or fear that we're like wasting our time, or we have wasted our time, energy, money, um, into this thing, and now it doesn't work out. But then we end up like deeper in to this situation.
That's exactly what happens. And the funny thing is it's just like you said, a lot of times we do see red flags early. And I think sometimes that taps back into that thing that people will say, give someone a chance, right? Or, allow people a chance to grow, or, or try to talk to someone about, have you tried to talk about whatever it is? These are things, I'm just trying to think of things I've heard over the years. Did you talk about it, because then maybe they don't know, and maybe if you tell them about it, you give them a chance to work on that. And I just find most of the time, just because we are who we are, that's why those things like don't go away. Like, just think about it. So even in all the things you named, in how people will communicate even when they're having a hard time, right? So that matters. If the way that you communicate when we are going through something isn't something that I feel is appropriate, or is a way that I feel appropriate or acceptable, that's a problem. Right? So sometimes it's just there that there's a rub. It's like, because some people, especially when there's emotions involved, the way that they respond is not appropriate, even though they think it is. And sometimes the other person may get even used to it, right? Because you're so used to that person, and you're so used to that situation, that you don't even realize that it's not appropriate, or that it's not, like you have to know how to communicate effectively amongst someone that you're in any kind of like real relationship, friendship, romantic. I mean, whatever it is, you have to be able to effectively communicate, and there's got to be respect on both sides.
Yeah, and effectively communicate with that person, because what I think is effective may not be. People have different ways of receiving, not just us, not just how we talk to people, but how they receive what we say. And it used to bother me because I'm like, I don't know, maybe because again, I don't know if it's just because I'm a dude, or if it's a general thing, but yeah, like I would just, I'm like, I'm telling you the truth. What is the problem? What? Like, I could lie, but that'd be a bigger problem. What you want? Uh, now we got two lanes. Pick one. You know. but it's but it's like, yeah, you're telling the truth, but you don't always have to tell it in like the, you know, darkest, starkest way. You know, uh, it's not so much that you're sugarcoating things, but like, yeah, you don't have to be totally blunt, you know, particularly to the person that you claim that you care about more than any other person, you know, in the world. So, yeah, something that, like I said, I'm still learning because I, you know, I can be very blunt, or I can be just very flat. Um, like I've noticed that, um, I'm a very big, I don't know if it's a believer proponent of balance. Like I never get too high, I never get too low. But I find that that kind of plays out when I'm dealing with other people. As people get higher, I tend to get lower. Doesn't really work the other way. Like if like when people are low, I kind of stay low. Like I've never gotten too high with someone like low, but um I've noticed that when someone, you know, women that I've been with or dealing with get higher, I kind of come lower. Because my thing is, you know, both of us can't be on 10. That's not going to work. But you come across as if you don't give a damn, and then you got to have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
This is true.
yeah. So it's, you know, trying to meet someone halfway. Um, but you know, it's hard, and either you want to do it or you don't. That's kind of where, like how you said, that's where like the respect comes in. Like this is, you know, this is how this person communicates. This is how this person expects to be communicated with. Sometimes you're either going to step up to the plate or not.
Yeah,
It
that's what
doesn't matter how
I do.
doesn't matter how many how many, you know, how many Marvel movies you guys enjoy together. Like,
Exactly.
it's,
Right. This is
like,
true.
yeah, you
That's
know, great.
really how I feel. Yeah, I feel this. I feel the same way because I just feel like because I think sometimes I think we talk about this stuff a lot, but I think a lot of things often go back to like your upbringing, and so what you were accustomed to when you were growing up. So a lot of people just tend to carry on whatever it was that they did, whatever form of communication there was in their home, and so maybe the way that we communicated in my house isn't the same as the way that you communicated in your home. And so maybe because I'm used to it or I heard my parents a certain way my whole life, these things don't bother me, but maybe they bother you. And so that's why I was saying too, it's like you have to talk about those things. You have to like say to someone, if there's certain things, especially like that, you say, hey, listen, so yeah, that's not normal for me, right? That's not the way. I don't want to communicate in that way. Or, even if it's because I think I'm similar in the respect that I probably don't say things more so than I will say something because I know that by the time I get to talking, I can say some. I don't really have a filter. That's what it boils down to. So, like, if I get to the point where I feel like I have to start saying stuff, first of all, you pushed me pretty far. That's number one because it takes a lot for me to get there because I'm pretty even killed most of the time. So most of the time I'm just not saying anything, and it's probably taken the wrong way most of the time. The reason why I'm not saying anything. But, some of that is for my own protection. Some of that is so that I don't say things because once you say something, it's out there. Or so I don't say or do something that will offend the other person, because I know that I'm quite capable of doing so.
Yeah, I'm similar to that. Uh, similar in that way as well. I one thing I did realize I've come to realize is that um, like part of what gets me not in trouble, but I guess part of where I guess sometimes it's just conflict is that I tend to I guess project my expectations onto others, and what I mean is that you know kind of how you said I'm very even keel. Takes a while for me to get to a point where I'm pissed off. Um, when I get there, again, I'm not going to yell, but I'm definitely not watching how I say things. Like you gonna get these words as they come out in real time.
Correct.
F how you feel.
Correct. Correct. Yep. Yep.
It's going
Keep poking
it's
the
going to be
bear.
it's going to be the softest assassination you ever had, but you gonna get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't get these words, right?
You gonna get these words, all right? You gonna feel every syllable, every consonant, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
because you asked for it. You asked for it.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with
but but I realize that um, like part of it is like I feel like I shouldn't have to say something every single time um, something is wrong. It's like I feel like at some point I feel like people should kind of I don't know self-regulate, self-monitor um, certain things because that's what I try to do, but everybody ain't me. Um, also, I miss things. Like I don't bat a thousand. No one does. Um, and what I've had to realize is that sometimes by not saying something, you're kind of giving people like tacit approval that whatever they're doing, whatever they're saying, however they're doing it, however they're saying it, is fine. Whereas you could have just said something, just say something one time, and it could have been, if not rectified, at least they've been put on notice earlier in the game. And also, it's I realize that it's not fair to either of us. It's not fair to them because I'm kind of holding them to a standard that they actually have no idea they're being held to, which isn't fair. And it's not fair to me because I could have handled, I could have had some more peace earlier in time. So
mm
I've learned to kind of say, yo, you can, at least bring it up earlier in whatever situation it arises in. Then if it happens again, check them. I realize what you gotta do. You can't just go straight to checking them, and you gotta give them a shot, then check them. Because it's like, yeah, you can't just come in with the hammer. You gotta be like, listen, I told you about this. I told you how it makes me feel.
right.
You said you understood, but here you are again. So here you are again. I'm reminding you, take that with you,
Yeah.
okay?
That's actually pretty funny. Yeah, yeah.
Because I told you already. So you've been duly warned. You were duly informed.
This is true.
Oh,
This is true.
but that's what you was kind of how you were saying. That's where the communication is. Like that is it's there are so many different ways to communicate. They're big and small. We kind of just focus on those big things, but it's those little small cases, I guess, that turn into larger things because we let things simmer and fester
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to handling it. And you know, so maybe it's a reason we do it is because this person is any other time they're awesome, any other time we're sweet. We both like boys men. So it's just like what there's a million different reasons, but that issue doesn't go away because of great chemistry. Chemistry is great, but um, ultimately, I believe, kind of fizzles, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Because like chemistry is like it can feel really intense because most of the time it taps into something familiar. You know what I mean? Like something about the emotional dynamic that we're experiencing is like recognizable. It's no, it's like something, something that you felt good before, and so it's like, oh, you kind of see a glimmer of it again. It's I feel like it's kind of like it's just a reminder of things, and I think that's why sometimes it feels like, yeah, this is a good connection, because sometimes familiarity feels like connection when it's not.
And as I said before, it's hard because you're blinded. you know, looking at the world with rose colored glasses, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Until something comes up that you just can't ignore. And of course, once sex is involved, that can kind of just mess everything up.
Always messes a lot of different stuff. Yeah, it does. It always messes things up. It's like it's sometimes I always feel like it's a gift and a curse. So sometimes it's like, is it a good thing? Is it a not a good thing? And then the way it's utilized sometimes within the relationship is like, sometimes is it a good way, or is it a bad way? Because that can also confuse you into thinking, oh no, we're good, we're compatible, everything is okay, when in fact it isn't.
Yeah, and it ain't just women; it's guys too. So I don't want anyone thinking that it's just women that have that run into this. Uh, it's particularly not today, which is also International Women's Day. So shout out to you, Shay. Happy Women's Day.
Appreciate it, thank you much.
No worries. So what we're not gonna do on this day is like put y'all in this box and pretend that men don't get pee whipped as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, so
Mm-hmm.
if anything, it might be worse for us because some of us be walking around here looking like crack addicts. It's just yeah, it's crazy. You ever see a dude that's just so sprung off the sex, like literally everything else in his life is on fire. Yeah, you swear he's trying to act like nothing else wrong because the sex is so good.
Yeah, I mean,
Like like
yeah, yeah. I've seen a couple. It's funny because people will try to act like it's just women, but it's most certainly not. I mean, because an intimate act is an intimate act, between both people. So regardless of what your gender is, you're still a human being. So yeah, I don't. I feel like, I mean, now that I think about it more, I really do think that probably sex plays a bigger role in confusing chemistry with compatibility than people might give it credit for. Because I feel like, in a good way or a bad way, right? If it's good or if it's bad, I just feel like sometimes there's a lot of pressure put on it, in order to judge whether or not you have chemistry with someone, and how good the chemistry is.
that's a very nice way of saying
I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be
it.
nice. I'm trying to be very nice in the way that I'm saying it, but
Very nice way to say. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that because this is we're not it's not a this episode ain't gonna be like a sex episode. But the fact of the matter is, like, when somebody knock the bottom out, you don't think straight. All right, you ain't thinking straight. Literally, just you don't. Let's just call it what it is.
this is true. This is true. Changes everything.
It changes your whole perspective
It
on certain
does.
things.
It
And
does.
like I said, both ways. Okay, some dude able to reach that spot way in the back, you start thinking differently. A girl do that little twist trick, whatever. You
Yeah.
start thinking, you know,
It's done.
yeah,
It's done.
it's done. Like you ain't lived. You had yourself a good spinner.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
weird.
Yeah. It's done.
Because you think, hey, they can, they can make me feel good in this way. Clearly, they know what they're doing.
Right.
Clearly, they make you feel good in the most intimate of ways. Clearly, they're great in every other aspect
Hmm.
of being with somebody. It never occurs to us that that's the only thing they may be good at.
Right. Right.
Or maybe they are good in other areas, but we just never take the time to actually explore them.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the only thing that the two of you are good at, you know? Sometimes that's what we're good at. And outside of that, everything else is me.
Absolutely. It's like, yeah, I had a neighbor with him. All him and his woman did was argue and have sex. That's all they did. And it's like that's that's nowhere to live. At least not for me. Um,
Absolutely
that's
not.
like
No.
just the extreme high and extreme low like that. That's not
No.
it at all. But you know being facetious, I wonder how many of us like come up thinking that's what love is. That's
Right.
what it means to be with someone.
Yeah.
Because kind of how you said, that's what we experienced growing up. This is
Absolutely.
what people do. They argue and they have sex and then everything is right with the
Yeah.
world. And it's like there's a whole lot of shit in between.
Yeah. A
But
whole bunch of steps in between there that get missed.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think it's just, I mean, in the same way, you can turn it over on the other side and you can say you have, there's a whole bunch of things that are real right and everything except for the sex. And then, so then maybe now that has you like, yeah, I'm not into him like that. I'm not really into her like that because, I don't like the sex. The sex isn't good. And maybe everything else is good. So it can go, I mean, it can definitely have a big effect on both sides for sure. Both ways.
I forgot about that part because you're
Think
absolutely right.
about
Like
it.
everything can be going well except for that one area.
Mm-hmm.
And it is important. Like we're not going to sit here and say that it's not. I think what sex and money change between number one and two as to the cause of divorce. So clearly, it matters. Just just a little bit. You know, you don't like you don't see compulsive gaming in the top 5 reasons of divorce
Right.
for a reason.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. I mean,
just
yeah, think about I mean, money is obvious, right? Money is obvious because, people it's hard, right? Without money and things it's hard and I think it's the strain that comes from lack of money a lot of times and then the communication it kind of spirals into all the other things that we're talking about, right? From that aspect. But I mean, who honestly, I mean, Do you really want to stay in a relationship with someone and the sex is bad? Is that your forever partner? Or is, I mean, hmm,
Yeah, I think you know. I think it's more complicated than we give it credit for, because it's like we look at I guess sexual performance as kind of an indicator of like the type of person that you are in a way. No, it's like
I no, I
in,
understand. Yeah.
in several ways because it's like if you ain't doing it right like what like I've never experienced this thankfully, but have your girl looking at you like, damn, you done already? Like
Yeah,
in
that's gonna
like
be a problem.
5 years in it, because y'all are patient. Y'all are so patient. Like so it's like you know, yeah, they be looking kind of funny because it's like everything else can be in order, but it's like this thing. I don't want to say it cancels it out, but it can feel that way.
Yeah.
Cause it's like you're so great at everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's probably, and you know what? And the worst part about it is that's gonna be to your detriment. The fact that you're so good at everything else and not good at that. It's like because that's what you're gonna hear all the time. And I can't do it. I'm not even gonna sit here and act like I would. I can't do it. I can't do
Yeah.
it. I'm not saying you have to be, uh, a porn star. I'm just saying you have to, but you can. It's it's gonna have to be there, or it's a no.
Stay hilarious.
That's all I'm saying.
You ain't gotta be a porn star, but you do need to know a trick or two. All right, but
Give me something. Give me something.
huh.
Something. You know?
But like, on the flip side, it's like especially when someone is great in other aspects. It's like you feel like the asshole sometimes because it's like he's great provide he or she great provider, great with the kids, cooks, cleans, is emotionally available. Asks me about my day, has followers, has X whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is this one thing so bad. You start feeling like a jerk because it's like it's just sex. But again, there's a reason why it's number two and number one. That's why people break up.
Yeah.
Like that's not a made up stat.
Yeah.
Um, but and sometimes there are legitimate reasons. Health concerns, stress, like what have you. Um, but sometimes people just don't care, and like that, I don't think that gets talked about. Um, at all sometimes because like sometimes, particularly with us, like we for some reason we think we're all porn stars. Um, so it's like,
Not sure what.
uh, yeah, and then we run into that woman or man if that's your thing who says, well, actually, this ain't working and we can't take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like yeah. It was like we walking around, and the girl said, "Take that with you,
Yeah.
okay?" And the girl said, "Please, take that with you, please take that with you." And
Yeah.
we can't handle
Yeah.
it. So we just like, but it's like instead of exploring that, saying, "Hey, having a conversation about okay, what do you like, what do you not like, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, why don't you like this?" And again, I keep saying, I don't know what the stats are for women. Yes, I know women do have egos, kind of like with men. But I can only speak from my perspective. So I'm not just throwing blame on us. But speaking as a dude, we can handle it. And like we shut down, and that's like that to me that don't work. Me personally, um, You mean to tell me all I gotta do to have better sex is talk to you? Hey, but that's just how I think.
Right. Right.
You gonna give me the playbook to make you feel good? Okay, but that's just how I think. my ego ain't that big, but a lot of men egos are they just can't handle it. And I think a lot of the reasons that's kind of how we're brought up. We're taught to be like, you know, the sex captain.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm like trying to think of a good word for it, right? But that's what it is, right?
Yeah, it's like we're supposed to be like the experts in this.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean, and you know what? And
yeah,
honestly, and you're right because sometimes there are medical reasons and things. So bar any of those things, right? Because that's never the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. I mean, just in general, where there is a level of sexual compatibility in between two people, whatever whatever your preferences, men and women, women and women, men and men, whatever you're doing. But and you're right, sometimes it is just a matter of actually not having such an ego, thinking coming in thinking you're already the best, and talking to the person and asking them what is it that they like. You can't assume based off of past experience that that's going to work for you with this person. That's with anything, right? It doesn't even, I mean, that's sex or outside of sex, right?
or porn. Stop that, guys.
Yeah.
Like porn gonna get you out in trouble or indicted.
Yeah.
So just stop that.
Yeah. Don't bring all,
But you're right.
yeah, don't bring all that stuff.
Don't do that. Like the average person does not bend that way. I'll put it out and I'll leave it at that. So
And they are working, by the way. You know what I mean?
that is their job. And if you ask them, they will tell you when they're not on the job, they don't bend that way.
Correct. Yeah, that's something that I think people forget about them. It's like they're working, so people are putting on, they're giving their best. They're putting on a show. They're doing things that they very well might not do otherwise outside of that setting.
Yes, and like any job, you need training. Like there's more work that goes into that than people understand. We just see the finished
I
product.
could definitely see that. I could see that 100%. I never thought about it before, but just as you're saying it, I can see it 100% because yeah, it's a job.
It's like again, trying to keep this clean on Sunday, my birthday, the Lord's Day. How can I put this? Okay, see, try the average person. It's hard to put something like this into something like this.
Yes.
It can probably be done, but it takes training.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not a one and
So
done. Yeah, it's not a one and done.
it's not. Yeah, you don't go from zero to
Yeah.
that. And again, I'm talking to the fellas here more so. I think the ladies understand this a lot more because they're typically more on the receiving end of this bullshit. So they understand. Like, I'm trying to tell you like
God
that
help
is
us.
not. It's it takes a lot of training and preparation. I just say a lot of preparation,
Right.
more so than you see. You see the finished product, so you can't be taking that into the bedroom with your girl. Like that will get you hurt. Okay,
Yeah.
but enough of that. It's very important to have these conversations because yes, there are life issues, medical issues, what have you, but at least in my opinion, you know, when the topic or the issues of these problems come up, that's a very small percentage of the issue. I think a lot of it has more to do with effort and communication.
I'm gonna agree with that.
Um, and I just think a lot of these things could be prevented if you just swallow our egos and say, "Hey, these these 4 words. What do you like?" Like,
Yeah. You got to get rid of that ego. I just think a lot, I really do think a lot of it comes from that whole, like just you already feel like you got, you're good where you're at, you know what you're doing. I've had success in the past, but that just does not work. That mindset doesn't work with anything when you go into a new situation. It just doesn't work. You can bring some of your past experience into whatever your new situation may be, but you cannot it's not the same situation. So everything that worked for you before is not going to work for you in a new situation. And I think that's just what happens with people, especially because sex is like a big thing. Everybody has an ego about sex, men and women alike, right? So it's not just I know that the men definitely hear them all the time, but the women have the ego also. But again, it doesn't matter. It just, you have to know what this person likes. You have to know, how to get that person to because there is an emotional connection that goes along with sex as well. And for me personally, I can tell you right now, so if I'm checked out emotionally, so I'm not going to have a good sexual experience with you. It's just not going to happen. You can say it's because you're a woman. I don't know. I've heard people say that before. Oh, women are big on that. I'm not sure, but it's definitely not going to be a good experience for me if there's an emotional issue, and or if I'm emotionally checked out, for sure.
I think well, see, I can speak from experience that definitely applies to men and like that's why I am not. How should I say? I don't do casual sex. Like I'm just not built that way.
Right.
Uh, that's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I don't know if that's weird for a dude to say, but that's just me. That has never been something that I've been interested in. I prefer to have a connection with someone that the person that I'm dealing with. So I think I don't think it applies to just women. I think it applies to men and women. Some of us just don't want to admit that. I don't care. I just don't. Um, Also, I end up with little mini me's because that's a different story. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just gonna put that out there. That's how you end up with a bunch of carbon copies of yourself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know what,
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
funny. I think you bringing up casual sex is an important thing too. I says I'm the same. I don't, I can't do casual sex either because it just feels empty. For me, so there's two things. So you can either be you can have sex with someone that you don't really know, and so you don't have that emotional connection with, right? And so that it wouldn't be a good sexual experience for me. Then there's the other aspect where there can be someone that you do know, someone that you have been with, someone you might be actively in a relationship with, but there are issues, or you are actively contemplating maybe ending the situation or something, and then so there's a way you can be emotionally checked out in that situation as well, which will change. That could be somebody that maybe for years you had a great sexual connection with, but now because there are issues, that has now changed.
Yeah, and then I guess the question is like how do you approach and deal with those issues? And is it something that you can come to some sort of resolution on, or not. Hopefully you guys, hopefully it is something that you can rectify. But I think sometimes a lot of us see, oh well, there's a problem. That's it. As opposed to no, like there's always going to be a problem. There's always going to be an issue.
Yes.
Like, can you work through it? Like that question hasn't been answered yet.
Right.
It hasn't even been asked yet. You just assume that. You just assume that, oh, it's a problem, because things have been going so well for so long. Now that there's an issue, I guess that's it. As opposed to, well, why? No, maybe the problem is the anomaly, not the 11 years things going right. Like that seems to be the standard. So how do they get back to the standard?
Right. Can you get back to that standard? And if so, yes, how?
Yeah. And yeah, that I think that applies to really to anything. Going out, date night, like that. You used to go out every Tuesday night. Now you go out maybe once a quarter. To me, the once a quarter isn't the standard. Every Tuesday night was.
Right.
But we just kind of fall into these ruts, and I guess it is, like I said, it's hard bringing it up because we don't want to fight, you don't want to conflict, but there, some conflict is healthy because it does help resolve things.
Right. This is true.
But you also got to find that person, that you're able to resolve conflicts with. That's where the compatibility is.
That's where the compatibility is. Can you resolve conflicts?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can be with someone a long time before you realize, hey, y'all ain't compatible. Like that chemistry cloud or fog, it can last a long time.
It can.
For a variety of reasons. It can be sex. You may have children, and now your focus is on them, so all the other things kind of get pushed aside. But once some kids are out the house,
right back, right? Yep.
Oh yeah. Just
yep. Yes, you know what? And it's funny because the statistics will show you that if you look at so many different relationships and stuff, it is funny. You'll see, like, I was talking to someone before, and they were like, I don't understand how people can split up after they've been together for 20-something, 30-something, 40-something years. It's like, no, so it's real easy, just by everything you just said, because that's what happens. You just described it. That is the trajectory of those types of relationships.
Yeah, like people, and I forget the stat, but like for a time it's made to be true. You see, women obviously initiate divorce more than men. Excuse me. But there was like a certain percentage that were initiating divorces, like either after the kids were gone, or like after 20, 40 years or so. And the reasons make sense. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to, my kids were here. I didn't want them, basically shuffling back and forth between two homes. I wanted to make sure they were in college, or I wanted to make sure that I was secure enough that I could afford to live on my own. I had to make sure that my retirement or what have you was solidified.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. Like that's the thing. Like you focus on other things.
Yeah.
And you wonder, damn, like could y'all have had a conversation? But then you also realize, well, I'm pretty sure, at least, again, I'm assuming. She probably tried to have a conversation on more than one occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can only go so long with the same issues until you're like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And again, like, it's not just women. I'm sure there are, being an asshole is not gender specific. Even though we do represent it heavily.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sure, it can go both ways. But yeah, you focus on what you feel are the priorities, and then when those priorities are gone, you deal with with that issue. Um, no, maybe I just never. Maybe you knew that you weren't compatible. But you were there was the expectation that you would get married at a certain age, or have kids at a certain age, and this person just happened to be there. That happens. There's cultural, religious reasons for kind of for that, but like I don't know if like compatibility just can't. It's not something that can like be forced. Like you either have it or
Or
you
you
don't.
don't.
I mean, you can try to work on things, and obviously there's compromise, but like there's always going to be it's like some key components that you're gonna have to see eye to eye on, or you're not. Like if if you know if you grew up in a household where putting your hand on somebody was okay, and I grew up in a household where that wasn't okay, we gonna have a problem.
Correct. Correct. That's the kind of stuff I mean.
We're going to have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an extreme
Yeah,
case, but
but it's not gonna work.
it definitely will not.
Yeah.
If,
I think, and one of the key things, I think that chemistry also, I think chemistry can also make people become emotionally attached quickly because of all the stuff we've even talked about up until now. The familiarity of it and, things like that. So if there's any emotional attachment involved, now things change a little bit because that's when all those things like, well, let's just give it a little bit longer, right? No, listen, she'll change, he'll change. I talked to them about this, so just got to give time. People don't change overnight, and all the things that you've heard for years, or even sometimes it's even other people, family members. I mean, some of this is like drawing back on just the culture. Oh, that's just a man being a man, or that's just how women are, or you just got to accept certain things. And I think all of those things, also sometimes play in the background of why we can stay in situations for longer than maybe we should, even years. I mean, not just months. I'm talking about years. Even if it's somebody who you said was in something for decades, I think it's very possible because of all of those things.
yeah, and something you alluded to, like there's definitely a double standard when it comes to men and women on these things. Like women are supposed to stay and stick it out, you know. Whereas us, we get tired, just for the most part. Um, maybe just a raised eyebrow, but like you know the social consequences aren't as severe for us as they are, as they are for women. Um, example, this actually just happened because I tend to I'm online way too much for
Well, you've been relaxing a little bit. You got an excuse this week.
yeah yeah, but no, it's just in general I'm online way too much, but it's typically because I'm looking for content ideas,
Oh, okay.
so at least that's the excuse that I say.
It works. It works.
It works. Because I do get some great ideas, but I saw this. I think it was a picture. This young. I'm assuming they were young woman and man. They were finalizing their divorce, and I guess he wanted, or at least he petitioned for full custody of the children, and she was like, "Cool, you got it." And again, we're that right there is men and women kind of like calling her all every form of bad mother, and you don't care about your kids and whatnot. But what kind of set it off is that she took, in the meeting where like they're signing the final papers, she took a selfie. She's smiling, and I guess he's in the background looking like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But she's smiling because he wanted custody. I gave it to him. But she's in the caption in the caption she put, he didn't win custody. I gave him custody. He hashtag he's the single mom, not me. I left, you know, I left. I I leave with exactly what I came with, and I didn't come with no kids.
Okay. Okay. Hey.
But and so, another content creator brought this up, which I agree with. A lot of times I think children are seen as punishment for women in a way that they are for men. So, and I think that's why um, a big reason why I should say she got so much vitriol. Because if you look at if you look at the comments, none of them were about the actual well-being of the children. Like not a one.
Right.
They were just, it was because she
How
wasn't
could you give up your
you know
kids and all that kind of stuff?
yeah. Yeah, but she wasn't acting the way we expect a woman to act. That's basically what it was. You know, how dare you not conform to these societal roles where basically you take the children and you deal with all the responsibility. You deal with these children that both of y'all made, but they're your sole they're your sole job.
Right. But you know what?
That's really what the tone
And
was.
it's funny, instead of saying, so you don't know this woman. And perhaps she doesn't feel that she has the capacity to be a single mom and take care of her kids. And if she's not motivated to do so, and their father is motivated and willing to do that, as long as the children are with one of their parents, right, which they are, and they're being well taken care of, then that's a win, right? Or should she take the children and do like some women do, right? Because they have to have the children because they're their children, and then the children are being thrown all over the place with other people watching the children. They're not there for maybe various reasons, sometimes good reasons, sometimes not so good reason, and then you have a lot of people that have a lot of things to say about that. So, I mean, the well-being of the children is what matters overall when it's all said and done.
I agree. Again, that's a very nice nice avenue you took.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, you're 100% right. I would just add. I wouldn't change anything. I would just add two things. Both of them. Well, one is good. One is not good. One, a lot of times from what I'm seeing, men fight for full custody, or they engage in a fight. I guess that's the way they like punish the woman. Look, they don't really want. They don't really want. They don't really want full custody. Are you scared?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
They don't want that. They want to fight. They want to make her feel bad.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, again, I don't know the numbers, but obviously, typically the kids end up with the mother. But you have those fathers who fight, who don't actually want to, who don't have the kids' best interests at heart, who don't actually want custody of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to hurt the mother
Mm-hmm.
and make her fight. And then there are those women who didn't want kids, but were convinced, coerced, whatever, into having them. And they're like, nah, you didn't even with these. Like, I told you from the jump. And I told you I didn't want to be a single mother. I told you.
Mm-hmm.
So you got them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think we need to make space for those two, because those two definitely happen.
Yeah.
Particularly with the dudes they, a lot of dudes ask for full custody, and then they get surprised when they get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because they know most of the time they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's work.
Mm-hmm.
It was a story where dude, basically made up all these lies about the mother, in order to get custody of the kids, thinking that I guess that would keep her around, she'd be begging and whatnot. Tell me why 10 days after he got full custody, he called an emergency meeting to go back to joint custody.
Wow. Wow.
It's kind of hard as a kid by yourself, isn't it, Chief?
Let's call F around and find out.
Yeah. How you doing there, champ?
Mm-hmm. 10 days. 10 days.
10 days. Oh, homie, you the pappy. Wow. I know that.
Wow. Because these kids will, they work.
Yeah, it's like, but that's a large issue, but I guess kind of plays into a larger issue in that, and it's something that I've had to kind of take a step back, and realize that, I was guilty of it, that the labor of women, particularly Black women, is expected. Not even in a way that it's it's expected for men. It's just expected. Period. It's like, even if we're not together, you're expected to perform some sort of labor for me. In this case, taking care of these kids. But your labor is like, that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Whereas respect, fidelity, like those are kind of bare minimums. No, you basically performing all this free labor, which there are industries built around childcare, meals, transportation, healthcare, all that free labor.
Yes.
Yes. is the bare minimum,
right?
And like I said, it's something that I had to sit with and take a step back and we do respect a lot at a minimum, and for things that we actually aren't bringing to, but what do you bring to the table? Well, we don't bring this. It's like, we ain't bringing it. Mm-hmm. We ain't bringing it. So yeah. And you can't just say, well, we work. So do they. So do women. But they're never off the clock. I go home at 5.
Yeah, your regular job ends. That's the best part about it. I mean, that's the best part of the day, is when it's done.
Yeah, like my wife works a 9 to 5 and comes home and volunteers for 12 more hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you got to come home and do all the rest of the stuff. And it is work, especially by yourself. So when you're campaigning for one to have, full custody of children, you're asking for work.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's, like I said, that's something that I've, in my attempt to be better, I guess, had to learn and unlearn. But it's difficult, and I guess this is partly why compatibility can be difficult, is because it forces you not only to have these tough conversations with your partner, or the person you would like to be your partner, but it also forces you to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because something like that will come up if you're serious about being with someone. Division of labor is a sticking point. Yeah. It's like that is another reason. If money and sex are 1 and 2, I have to imagine division of labor is top 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I'm tired of working 9 to 5 and coming home and being a chef, prostitute, nurse, maid, chauffeur, coach, therapist, because my husband don't want to talk to anybody but me.
Mm-hmm.
like doing like and not getting paid for any of it.
Yeah.
But when I need time off, I'm looked at as selfish, not just in house, but society tells me I'm a bad mother, a bad person.
Right. Right. God forbid
Uh,
you just want a day to do nothing. You know, uh, can't take a day off unless you have something to do.
yeah, I'm tired of, when I take care of my kids, it's parenting. When he does it, it's
Right.
babysitting.
They say that all the time, which is such a strange thing. Oh, I'm babysitting my kids. I didn't know that was a thing. I just didn't know that was a thing.
Like I don't even have kids, but like if someone said that, like I'd be offended. Like, what do you mean? Like these are my kids.
Yeah. You don't babysit your children. They're your children. Either you have your children with you or you don't. The same for, whoever. I mean, when I have my children, I'm not babysitting them. Or if you see me out, I just don't have my children with me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have my children, and when I'm home, I do have my children. Or if you see me another time, I do have them. I'm not babysitting them. We're just doing what a parent does.
Another thing, because that's another thing. Like when the mothers are out by themselves, it's where are your children? But no one asks that question when the dads are out. It's assumed that they're with the mother.
Right. Yeah. Oh, all the time. Where are your kids at? Where's the baby? Where's it? Where's your son? Whatever. Yes. Yes. If you have more than one child, you're at least expected to bring one. You're at least expected to bring one of them. Typically the smallest one, typically the younger one, because as the other ones get older, everybody understands what happens with them. They don't come around as much. But if you have a smaller one and you're out and you don't have the smaller one, you're definitely going to get asked where that child is. Because it's like, how dare you be out without them? And where are they if they're not with you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah, I didn't realize being a parent is political as well.
It is. It is. Everything about parenting. It's so the whole thing is just really it's funny. It's like all the way up to if you take your kids to school or if they take a bus or if they get picked up or if they take a bus. Um, what they bring to school for lunch, what they wear to school, just everything about parenting is there's a lot of expectations, there's a lot of judgment, there's just a lot of nuances for sure, um, which is interesting. It is an interesting role to have.
Hmm. I you you say a parent, but I feel like one parent typically gets the brunt of this over the other type of. And again, I'm not a parent, so correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm speaking on something that I have no knowledge of, correct me. But I feel like one parent typically gets the brunt of these things over the other.
Yeah.
And like one parent, if one parent somehow does something that's treated as like they cured cancer, whereas the other
Yeah.
parent, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a parent.
Right, and that other parent might have given the same suggestion earlier or yesterday or sometime previously and it was ignored you know
Okay,
yeah.
fair enough. Again, I don't see dads getting the stink eye because they're choosing breastfeeding over formula. Like I've never seen that.
Nope. Nope.
I don't. Okay, just checking.
Everything, type of lunchables, type of food you give the kid, what time they go to bed, what type of shoes they wear or don't wear. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. It is an interesting place to be for sure. Mm-hmm. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. You know? Just saying.
If I had children, like my partner would, she'd be sick of me, in a different way, because I'd be like, I'd be goddamn if you can have any stereotypes in this house. I'm like, nah, kid.
Yeah.
She'd be like, Jay, can I have one? No,
Yeah.
none of them.
Yeah.
But I guess I look at it a little bit differently, just because like it's a job, and there are a lot. It's you can argue it's the hardest job or not, but it's hard. It doesn't. It's a hard job. You're learning on the job, which people don't. That doesn't get talked about enough. Like, your child is, their experience being a child for the first time, your experience being a parent for the first time. Like, and it's something that you learn
Mm-hmm.
on the fly. Like you've never had an 18-year-old until you had
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. But like it does that you're expected to be a genius from the time this kid pops out. Um, and yes, there are books and parents and people who've done it before, but every child is different, and like every parent is different. And for the first year or two, they ain't talking, so he can't really talk. He can't really ask what's going on.
Exactly. And you got to figure all of that stuff out.
Yeah, a little bit of a language barrier for a
Yeah.
couple of years.
Yeah. You better figure out how to figure it out, or it's gonna be a rough time.
Like it's hard, but I look at all those things as like that. That's the job. And again, I don't want to sound unsympathetic, but like to me, like that's the job. So if I choose to have a child, that's a job.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that job also means making sure that I'm helping out my partner. It's like it's not just here, wife. Take like that's in. Maybe it's easy for me to say because I'm not in that position, but that's just how, at least me looking at it now, that's how I look at it. Like that's it's your fucking kid. Like
Yeah. Yeah. You can. Yep. Yep. There's no
like
better way
why
to put it.
like why is this one person? There's two of you. Why is this one person doing all of it in 2026? I don't get it. And then get upset when your kid don't know who you are. Like if you talk to the motherfucker once in a while, you might know who you are. You said something more than "Hey, squirt."
Yeah, right.
They might come to you.
That might help.
It might help. Say something more than Dad's got to go to work. You know. So, but yeah, it's definitely one of the hardest jobs. It's definitely one of the least rewarding in the sense that a lot of what you do just it gets overlooked or treated as a bare minimum. Um, yeah, unfortunately, a lot of I guess parents. I don't know. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of conversations aren't had that should be had prior to the child, being born. One of those questions is, do we actually want children? You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's a very important question to ask. Instead of just having children isn't that's not where you say, hey, we're here now. That's not a good place to say it.
Yeah. It's not.
Um, yeah,
It's not.
it's,
It's not. Yeah.
like there's no returns.
No.
At least no legal ones. I'll
Yeah.
say. Um, so it's like I feel like that's kind of where that's another place where compatibility is just can arise because um like if one person wants kids and another person doesn't, mm, like that's gonna be an issue.
Correct.
Um, the person who doesn't want a child having a child, I don't think fixes that. It's just, you know, we're, best case scenario, they kind of just, maybe they come around. Um, Worst case, there's resentment. And you're like, I don't think that's healthy for the parent, the child, or anybody. Because there are parents who never wanted children, who had children, who really don't, who make it clear that they don't want children, and like it's,
Doing
or
something to make the other
you
person
have,
happy.
yeah, or maybe both people wanted children, but you kind of how you said earlier, you grew up differently, things that you experience, you think that's how to raise a kid. Your partner may feel differently, but you never talk about
Right.
it. So first time you go to pop on the butt, World War Three.
Yeah.
Well, World War Four, because apparently our commander in tweets started World War Three. So World War Four, in your household has started.
Yes.
Um,
God help.
but yes, God help us all. But but hey, everything's political these
Yeah.
days. So but you don't have those conversations, and you find out, hey, like that. That's probably the worst time I found out that you're not compatible.
Yeah.
when, the child is there.
Yeah.
Like,
Unfortunately, that's a very popular time that people seem to find out that they are not compatible. Unfortunately. Yeah, it is. It happens quite often. Quite often.
Fair enough.
I'll just say it like that and leave it. Just saying, I think that this is a good topic. I liked when I knew we were going to be talking about this. I thought this was going to be a good topic because I think this is something that a lot of people can relate to. I think it'll resonate with a lot of folks because I think that everybody's been in a situation like this at some point in their life. Where you thought that you had chemistry with someone, and you thought you were compatible, but you weren't, and I think that everybody has to come to a point, and maybe some people haven't come to that point yet. Maybe this is the turning point to help people to realize that there is a difference between chemistry and compatibility. It's an important difference. And it's imperative to, making sure that you have a healthy relationship. So, I like this one. This one is really a good topic for sure.
Oh, yeah. Because because if folks take nothing else from this, you know, know that compatibility is definitely critical, but it comes in so many different ways, and there are so many levels to like each form of compatibility. Like it's not just kids and that's it. It's do we want kids? How many kids do we want? How are we going to raise them? Where are we going to raise them? Are they going to be religious? It's not just sex. It's how often do you like it? Do you not like it? Positions, places, things you say, like code, like there's so many different levels.
Yes.
As hard as it can be, as hard as these talks are, I think maybe not the hardest part, but definitely the most unfair part is that a lot of this stuff is trial and error. And it's like you don't, and you don't, you just like you can't just chill in your room with a notebook talking about I like this, and this, and this, because then you might meet somebody and all that goes out the window.
Yep. And sometimes you might like all those things on that list with someone else, and maybe you don't like it with this person.
Yes.
So that matters too. So you're right. A lot of it is 100% trial and error. And I think that's the part, that's the headache about it. And that's what makes it so hard because it's very difficult to be able to have that type of discernment when you're in the middle of something. And often we don't want to. I mean, because like I said, chemistry can be very strong, very, very strong, and it can be a good feeling, and you can get very wrapped up in that feeling and that, that emotion, and you don't want to see past it. You're not really looking for the things, and when there are the little red flags, like how you were talking about earlier, you just ignore them.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, chemistry can be intoxicating and
Mm-hmm.
you know, but it's like chemistry can be like a super tanker, very, very big and can hold all these things, but they're not really meant to stop and turn on a dime, and it's hard turning on you know how hard it is to stop a super tanker or to change direction?
Mm-hmm.
It takes forever. So people tend not to do it because it's hard. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
like right? We here, we got to this point. Let's just keep going forward.
That's right.
But
That's right. You
but,
follow momentum wherever it's carried.
yeah, you follow the momentum,
Mm-hmm.
right? But eventually you're gonna hit something. If you don't change course. And yeah, it's hard changing course in the middle of the ocean. But sometimes you have to.
Right.
Um, because there might be this iceberg that's coming. There might be this storm that's coming, and if you don't change course, you're gonna go right into
Correct.
it. Now you're out there, ass out in the
Yep.
ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. 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 All true.
Just, just you and the sharks get found out there in the middle of the Atlantic.
Mm-hmm.
Because you ain't want to bust that U-turn. Okay,
Yep. Gotta do it
you know.
sometimes.
Let me know how it works out for you. It's kind of cold out there.
Mm-mm. That water's real cold.
Yeah, it's rough too.
Not the place you want to be.
Yeah. So you gotta know when to turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be like turning a super tanker because it can be that hard, but it can be
Yeah.
done.
It can be done.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. It can be done. It's hard, but so, you always got to listen to your instinct. That's something that I've learned. A lot of times, just listening to your own instinct, you know, uh, saves you a lot of headaches in life. Even if it's something small, there, just explore it. Don't just always be so quick to be like, just see what it is. And if it's nothing, it's nothing. But most of the time, I find, just for me personally, if I have something, if I feel something, it's usually valid. Yeah, it's usually something that, I need to explore. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And me doing that has saved me a lot of headaches, and it's made me be able to avoid situations that would have otherwise not been good for me. It's helped me to get out of unhealthy situations, so is it difficult? Yeah, but I think that once you get more comfortable with, kind of like you said before, even yourself. I think a lot of it is you becoming comfortable with yourself and knowing yourself and understanding yourself too. It's easier to make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah, totally agree. So, what have we learned, folks? Don't get too hung up on sex in the middle of the ocean. That's not the lesson. that's, that's not the lesson. That's because some of y'all, that's all y'all heard until I started talking about the ocean.
Hmm.
No, don't get dignitized on the Atlantic. No, 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 no. It's like, compatibility is key. Chemistry is exciting, it's exhilarating, it's intoxicating, but that compatibility is important, and it encompasses so many different things. Um, not just intimacy, but just how really it'll dictate how you're going to or not spend your life with whoever you choose to spend it with.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, it's one of those things you don't really know until you get with someone and start asking those questions, not just of that person, but of yourself.
Yes.
Because like Shay said, you can go in with a list and end up burning that list and coming up with a new list of things you don't even think about.
Yep.
Because that person's going to expand your horizon to something new. You
Yeah.
know?
All very true. Matter of fact, you said some of the stuff that was you did see you read the hard truth of the week, huh? I feel like that's some
No, I
of it.
didn't. I did.
Did you?
I didn't. No, this is top of the
I
dome.
like it.
Top of the
I
dome.
like it. I like it.
It's just
Well, because as when you first started talking, I'm like, oh, this sounds kind of similar to some of the stuff that I was, that I was saying. I mean, yeah. Well, here. So listen. So hard truth of the week, folks. So chemistry can start a relationship, but compatibility determines whether it can actually survive. Sometimes the strongest emotional pull we feel towards someone isn't a sign that the relationship is right. It's just a sign that the connection feels familiar. And learning to recognize the difference is part of becoming more emotionally aware.
for that. Full sprinkle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did not read. I told you I was asleep all yesterday, so I didn't read nothing.
Yeah. No, I mean, but it's just, because when you think about it, it's all the truth. I mean, that's just what it boils down to. It's hard. I mean, but that's what we do here, break down these kinds of things and talk about these things that are uncomfortable. And it can be uncomfortable, but worth it.
Very much so. So, all right, folks, it is about that time. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my birthday. Probably taking this Knick game and go Knicks. If you don't like the Knicks, go argue with your pappy. I don't care. My team, not yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There would be no Knicks slander on this day. Go watch this game, work out, have me a 10-piece. Enjoy year 42.
Very nice.
But Shay, take us out.
All right. So listen, guys, we really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. I think we are actually. Is this the 10th episode, or is this 9? I meant to ask you that.
This one, I think we are 10.
Is this 10? Okay? Because I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. So I mean, we are at episode 10. So we really appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in and vibing with us every week. And listen, if this hits you, if you've ever experienced the difference between chemistry and compatibility, let us know. Give us some comments. Let us know if you want to continue the conversation. Let us know if there's anything else that you want to talk about. We're open to all the suggestions. So until next week, take your peace seriously.